to Mad Panic Gaming!
Crazy!
What's up, everybody? Jim here, coming at you with another epic game hunt. And today, we left the familiar surroundings of Tokyo and we headed all the way to Saitama to the neighborhood of Omiya, which I like this area a lot. Really cool neighborhood, haven't been here in a long time, so it was very nice to come back. And I came here today because I wanted to go to a nearby Hard Off. But I soon realized that there was a Surugaya right next to Omiya Station, so I wanted to go and check it out. And turns out they had a lot of games. And when I say a lot, I do mean a lot of games. So I wanted to get in a little appetizer game hunt before heading to the Hard Off. So despite the fact that there were a ton of games on offer, I decided to limit myself today to spending no more than $50. Which was a pretty tall order because they had lots of games and some of them were pretty pricey. But we're going to dig through all these games. We're going to look at a lot of them. Some of them expensive, some of them pretty cheap, but most of them expensive. But by the end of this video, we will come away with a bunch of really great games for under $50. So I hope you're ready because that's what's coming up next.
Japan, 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 Japan. Round one. Fight, fight, fight.
All right, let's get this game hunt started the proper way with some Super Famicom. Just focusing on boxed stuff today, so let's take a looky-see. 2500 for F-Zero. Boxed and complete launch title, not too bad. And ActRaiser, 3800, which is actually not too bad. I've seen ActRaiser and especially ActRaiser 2 go for a lot more than that, so that's okay. And Super Dodgeball, 3300, and I'm not sure if the Super Famicom version was a Japan exclusive, and 1400 for Panic Bomber, which is a really great puzzle game. And for a complete game in such great shape, that's not too bad. And then Gradius 3, 3900. And you'll see that each of these boxes also has kind of a label on it with some different descriptors. It's just telling you the condition of the game. So rank B for Garo Densetsu 2 at 1500 yen. 3200 for Ganbare Goemon 2. Amazing game, as well as Ganbare Goemon 3 for 1700, which that is surprising. There's, I think, some damage, maybe something missing, but usually way more than 1700 for that game. Captain Tsubasa 3 for 3500, which kind of surprised me because these Captain Tsubasa games are very common, and it's 2400 for Captain Tsubasa 4. And most of these games will have like some kind of damage on them. 2100. I just wanted to look at the Chrono Trigger box art as usual. But most of these games, it's to be expected. Some of them are as old as I am. 1400 Garo Densetsu, and Kunio-kun no Oden 2700, which, if you've never heard of it, is a very fun little puzzle game. Great Battle 4, which is excellent, but it's 7300, so that's like the day's entire budget for one game. 3300 for Super Bomberman, which is maybe a little steep on that. And there are a lot of Super Bomberman games, so we're going to see more of those. 1900 on good old Super Mario All-Stars, but again, there's damages to various things. 1400 on Super Mario Kart. And yeah, so most of these, it'll tell you there's some damage to the box, damage to the manual, the cartridge, what have you. Something might be missing. 400 on Super Puyo Puyo. You're going to see also just usually puzzle games are very inexpensive. 1800 for Panel de Pon, aka Tetris Attack, which is an amazing game and in such great shape. You can't complain too much about that. 1900 on Super Butoden 3. and 900 on Super Butoden 2, which itself is a very common game. And the original Super Butoden 2000 with a litany of descriptors about it, even though usually that one's a lot cheaper too. The DBZ games are usually very common. Cho Aniki, 7,000 yen. Or at least one of the Cho Aniki games. I'm not super familiar with the series. I think I've played like a couple of them. They are very oddball titles, very Japanese, if you will. 1,500 for Super Bomberman 2. And that's not bad for what is a near mint box. So that's really nice. And 2,100 on this Samurai Spirits. And that's just some beautiful box art. That's one of the reasons I like to stick to boxed games. Is just so we can appreciate some arts. Because we want to be entertained, don't we? Magical Taruto-kun for 2,100. More of that good Japan exclusiveness. And the original Sailor Moon. Complete and in... Oh, actually, no, not complete. Sorry. Missing a little something, I think. But still, box, nice shape. 4,700 for a much less pretty beat-em-up. Final Fight. I don't mean the box, mind you. I mean the actual characters in the game. They're not quite as cute as the Sailor Scouts. And Final Fight 2 for 4,300. That one's going up. That one used to be about a 2,000 yen game. But as of like the past 2 years, a bit more expensive. Super Bomberman 5. Again, beautiful, beautiful box art. I love that bright yellow as well. You just can't miss it. Or, even better, Super Bomberman 4, 3,200 with my favorite color, which is green. Anything green, I'm just going to be drawn to it immediately. And 1,400 for Puyo Puyo 2 Remix. Again, we're going to see more Puyo Puyo and puzzle games throughout the video. And man, they are very inexpensive. 4,800 yen for Rockman 7. I'd say if you're not a fan of puzzle games, you might want to try picking them back up because they're like the most affordable games right now. 5,000 yen on Rockman X2, and that's complete. And then Super Adventure Island. Fantastic game. Looks in pretty good shape. It's 4,500. So I like that a lot. And Super Ginjin 2, aka Super Bonk 2, 3,300. And that's actually not a bad deal on that. I think after exchange rate, that's like 25 bucks. Not too bad. 2,600 on Yoshi's Island. And 13 on Super Donkey Kong, aka Donkey Kong Country. And again, that's like near mint. And it's like a $10 game. 5,000 for Sandra no Daiboken. That's in the Valkyrie series. And Soul Blader, which you might know better as Soul Blazer, for 3,500. So that's about 28 bucks. 3,200 for, I think, the third Yu Yu Hakusho game. Not quite as cool as the fighting games, in my opinion, but still not bad. And we got Ryuko no Ken for 3,000, aka Art of Fighting. We've got a couple of the Ranma 1/2 games. These are not particularly good games, but if you're a Ranma 1/2 fan, they're cool little collector's items. Some of them did get English versions, but they're like Street Combat or something. But yeah, they're not so good. And hell, why not? Lady Stalker, 4,800. Are you stalking a lady, or is the lady the stalker? I guess the lady is the one doing the stalking. And then here we have this copy of Rockman X for 7,900. And oh boy, thankfully those Rockman collections exist. Muscle Bomber, aka Saturday Night Slam Masters. Love this game. 5,000 yen, so it's about 40 bucks. Getting up there. And the classic that is Yu Yu Hakusho 2. Still only about 10 bucks for this game, even when it's boxed and complete and in fairly nice condition. So I like that a lot. And that's a quick look at a bunch of the boxed games they had. Some games for me to consider today. Of course, had a lot of loose carts, but wasn't really looking at them today. But there you go. Have a browse, have a looky-see. But those are the Super Famicom games at this Surugaya.
Three-way scroll. High position visual. Sound selective mode. It's a super AV action. Contra.
Next up, the 8-bit powerhouse, the beast, that is the Famicom. Starting with 1942 for 3400, that is a classic in every way possible, and Image Fight, which is really awesome too. Maybe not quite the classic of the 1940 series, but what can you do? And Othello! Yeah, okay. 3600 for Kunio-kun Soccer League, the sequel to Nintendo World Cup. Sir Laurence Olivier in Othello. That's what I was going for. God, that joke came late. Ike Ike Neketsu Hakibu. My favorite 8-bit hockey game, and that's not a long list of games. Gundam, Z Gundam, Hot Scramble. Sounds delicious. And boxed and looking real nice for 4200. And Goemon Gaiden 2, I think. Which I have not played yet. I've only played the Super Famicom Goemon games, but I imagine they're all cool. If Jimmy Hoppa loves them, they must be great. And Quarth for 2,000 yen, which is a pretty good deal on that. That's like 14 bucks or so for Quarth. That's a damn good game and in fine condition. And then the original Neketsu Soccer Boo or Soccer Hen. My kanji is failing me, but Nintendo World Cup is what that game is. And the original Goonies, very cool, but no price sticker on this one actually. So I can only assume it's free, so I just went ahead and put that in my back pocket. I hope no one minds. And 2,500 for Downtown Special, which is basically River City Ransom, but set in feudal Japan, so it's pretty cool. Star Force by Hudson Soft. Old school shoot 'em up. Very fun, and eventually led us into the Star Soldier series. And Spartan X, aka Kung Fu, for 3,500. Of course, a lot of this stuff, this is all collector's items now. Most of this stuff you can just play digitally anywhere. 4,900 for Mario Bros. 3, but they had a bunch of different copies at different prices. 3,000 for this one, and 2,800 for this one. So like missing various bits or damage to the box, all kinds of stuff. Changing the value of it. Cadillac, not pink Cadillac, mind you, with Lance Henriksen. 1,300, okay, for Goonies. Now we got an idea of what they're charging for it. And Gradius, 4,300. And Gradius on the Famicom has been going up in price recently too. That's another one that's been getting up there. 600 yen though for this copy of Dr. Mario. That's very generous. That's like $4.50 maybe for Dr. Mario. But 4,400 for Super Mario Brothers. But to be fair, it's in good shape. And another Magical Taruru Tokun game, Fantastic World. Those never made it out of Japan. And Neketsu Koshinkyoku. Another Japan exclusive Kunio-kun game. Another kind of competitive sports game, really cool. And 4,700 on Dragon Quest III, which, to be fair, this is a really good looking box, but that is also a very common game, so kind of mind-boggling. 4,800 on Super Adventure Island 2, I think. And that's another really good one, but again, 4,800, that's in the neighborhood of like 37 bucks, I think. 4,400 for Super Mario USA, aka Mario Bros. 2. Again, about 36 bucks, not bad. 3,800 though on Dragon Quest 2. And even the box wasn't that great, and that's a very common game. On the other hand, Dragon Quest 4, 1,600, so it's about 10 bucks. Well, maybe not quite that low, maybe closer to 11 or 12. But that's a very common game. And Downtown Neketsu Monogatari, aka River City Ransom. I heard stories about kids getting attacked and having their Dragon Quest 4 copies stolen back in the day. It was like some kind of epidemic. 3,600 for Harukanaru Keen Metal, aka I think it's Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. So that's about a $28 game, boxed and complete, and I do really like that game. 2,000 for Jump. Famicom Jump, which, if you didn't know, is an RPG featuring all of those Jump characters, and then Famicom Jump 2. So you got Goku, and you got Taruru Tokun, and JoJo, and all that goodness. That's a lot of fun. This game I like a lot. Wario no Mori, aka Wario's Woods. I think the last official NES release. That's 1,200 there, so that's probably about 8 bucks. And my favorite of the 8-bit Rockman games, Rockman 5, for 2,100 yen. That's actually a hell of a deal on that game. So that's like, what, 16 bucks, 15, 16 for an amazing game. Loose Famicom carts, which again I glossed over today because I wasn't looking for loose carts, but I thought this was just fascinating. A whole bunch of NES games, which I've like never come across a big bunch of these. So Track and Field 2, 1,400. I have to wonder how these games got all the way over here. I guess there are people in America collecting Famicom games, so it's reasonable to think that there'd be people in Japan collecting NES games. Clax, Tengen. I haven't held a Tengen cart in many a year, so that's pretty cool. Some Super Glove Ball, which I've never played. You have to play it with the Power Glove, right? I've never even played with a Power Glove, so how the hell would I know? Silent Service for 1770. You can tell me in the comments, are these good deals on these games? Loose carts after all. Ikari Warriors 2. Victory Road. Can't go wrong with Ikari. Always love those. And what else we got here? I think the last game they had Cabal. Alright, I like Cabal. 3,300. That's a good game. I like that shooting gallery style gameplay. So that's cool. So a bunch of NES games just nestled in with our Famicom games. But there you go. Famicom and Super Famicom. A lot to choose from.
East 4 The Dawn of East 名作イース1-2から4年斬新な新システムに CD ロムならではのビジュアルシーンを織り込んだ PC エンジンオリジナルアクション RPG スーパー CD ロムロムイース4イースの謎がついに明かされる
買わなきゃハドソン
Alright, now we come to the aisle that took up the vast majority of my time while I was here, starting with a rarity these days, some Neo-Geo games. So we've got some Fatal Fury, some Samurai Spirits, even a couple of Neo-Geo Pocket games with King of Fighters R1, which is actually one of the very few Neo-Geo Pocket games I actually owned when I still had a Neo-Geo Pocket, so that's cool. This, I was kind of blown away, 1,900 yen for King of Fighters 97, complete with spine cards, so that's like, I don't know, what, 14 bucks, 13 bucks? A hell of a deal. And we got some Samurai Spirits, some more Fatal Fury. Top Hunter, very cool. It's 9,600 yen, though. But we got plenty of stuff here. So yeah, I don't come across a lot of Neo-Geo stuff that isn't protected by glass. So this was kind of cool. They didn't have a lot, but, and, you know, just nice to see some Neo-Geo out there. 8,500 for that Magical Drop 2. So, you know, cool. Let's drink it in. Drink in the Neo-Geo-ness. And what do we got here? Sonic Wings 3, 68, and 45 for the original Sonic Wings. Another KOF 97, and this was cool. 2,400 for World Heroes Perfect. So that's like an $18 game. That's cool. And then some of the others. And then 2,200 also for Gangan, aka Aggressors of Dark Combat. So that was cool, and they even had a few Virtual Boy games, which, you know, I don't particularly care about, but there you go. But moving on to the real meat of this thing, the PC Engine, because who does not love some PC Engine? Image Fight 4,100. So there you go, we found Image Fight on the Famicom, and we found the far superior PC Engine port, Galaga 88, Columns, very cool stuff. Cyber Knight and other various things. Some Space Harrier here, 2,500, that's all good. And some Sun 2, 4,300. And then some Final Zone 2, not quite as good, but there you go. And some Super Dodgeball, 3,100, that's a nice enough game. And some Darius Plus. Yeah, this aisle really took up a lot of my time because it's got the PC Engine, it's got the Neo-Geo, and it's got all the Sega stuff too. 4,000 for this PC Engine, and that manual looked like it had definitely seen better days. Final Soldier, 5,300. Love that game. I think the only Japan exclusive game in the Soldier series. The other two did end up on the TurboGrafx. 2600, Bomberman 93. Not bad at all, but then Bomberman 3200. I don't know why, because that's higher than even like what you'll find at Super Potato. Lack of consistency here. Here we have a copy of Valkyrie no Densetsu, way cheaper than it normally goes for, but it's missing, I think, the little card protector, and it's quite damaged. Ys 3, though, 1,400 yen. So about 10 bucks, and you go home with Ys 3 on the PC Engine CD. That's a hell of a deal. And then 2,200 for Ys 4. Which is still not a bad price at all, considering that game is awesome, and it's usually more in the range of like 3,000 yen, I'd say. But moving right along, more Cho Aniki. I just can't get away from these guys. I keep finding Cho Aniki games everywhere recently for whatever reason. And Asuka 120% Burning Fest, one of the better 2D fighters on the PC Engine. PC Engine does not have a lot of 2D fighters. So that's one of the better ones. And then another Cho Aniki, 4,200. The better of the Cho Aniki games, I think, though. I actually did enjoy that one quite a bit. 900 yen for Kabuki-den. So, yeah, that just goes to show how popular Kabuki was back in the day. His games are so prevalent, and they sell them for like $5. Just go and get it. You'll find it anywhere. Turn over a rock. Star Peroger, great game, 8,200. So not getting any cheaper, but I do really like that game. Very much it's a Star Soldier parody. We got some Ranma 1/2, 2,800 yen. Even though those games aren't great, they do have kind of a special place in my heart. Flash Hiders, but yeah, PC Engine all over the place.
前作を超えたスケールとアクションで息もつかせぬ面白さ。超ハラハラ超ドキドキの超音速アクション。ソニック・ザ・ヘッジホッグ2。Welcome to Sonic Land! メガドライブから世界へ向けて
Next up, we're going to be looking mostly at Sega stuff from here on in, starting with this Star Jacker. I think that's for the SG-1000. There's like SG-1000 and Mark III stuff, like this one here, Sinbad Mystery, which I don't actually know what it is, but it's 6,400. And you'll have to forgive me because with very few exceptions, I'm kind of ignorant about Sega before the 16-bit days. There's Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier. I know they're arcade games, but like 8-bit Sega consoles, I really don't know very well. And we've got some PCFX games here, which I think the PCFX sucks, to be completely honest. I had one for a time, and it's mostly just a bunch of dating sim games. And then a lot of FMV stuff, so I just, you know, for me, like, the PC Engine is great. One of the all-time great gaming consoles, but then the PCFX is just, you know, it's crap, in a manner of speaking. 700 for a pachinko game, though, so there you go. And hey, look, that's a handsome fella. And Champion Baseball for 900, so there you go. A little bit of 8-bit Sega stuff, and then a lot of Wonder Swan. And again, you'll have to forgive me for being kind of ignorant about Wonder Swan stuff, although there's a lot of this. A lot of anime license games for it, which anime that I recognize, and some Final Fantasies and what have you. But for the most part, don't really know it. But Game Gear, though, I'm alright with. Some Sonic 2 for 2,800, which is boxed. And this is pretty cool because I don't come across a lot of boxed Game Gear games, or Game Gear games, period. We got some Sailor Moon S, which I guess was like a beat-em-up, or maybe an action platformer, and some Puyo Puyo for 1,100. Actually, they had quite a lot of Puyo Puyo games on the Game Gear, and they are all very inexpensive. So despite the fact that they're all boxed, and they're in good shape, and I rarely come across them, they are selling them for low, low prices. And we got some 3DO games, including the classic. Who could ever forget this one? Nice Body. This was just like tearing it up. Remember those Game Pro scores on Nice Body? Anyway, that's all for that. Now we move on to the main Sega course. We got some Mega Drive. We got Aladdin. 3,200 on Quackshot. Not bad. It's a pretty good game. Valis 3, 6,700. And all these games complete unless otherwise labeled. And, you know, you typically, when you're looking at Mega Drive games, you will find them boxed. not so much loose. 8,000 yen on this Gunstar Heroes. So that typically, drives up the price. One is the fact that they're usually complete, and the other the fact that they're not as common. Some Fatal Fury, some columns, all kinds of good stuff. Not as common because the Mega Drive, at least as far as I know, just wasn't as popular in Japan as the Genesis was or the Mega Drive was in other regions. Some Mercs, some Sonic and Sonic 2, 2,200, so that's okay. That's like 17 bucks. 9,000 yen though on Same, which is a favorite of mine. It's Fire Shark, but now it's in one of those shooting collections that you can get on modern consoles. So you don't really need the Mega Drive version anymore unless you're a collector, of course. And 6,900 on Tatsujin, aka Truxton, which is also not too bad, I guess. But again, I'm hoping to see that in a collection sometime soon. And Crusader of Sinti, which I think is one of the more elusive North American Genesis games. But here it's like 9,600 yen. Toe Jam and Earl, that's a classic. 3,200, but I don't know that Panic on Funkatron got a Japanese release because I don't think I've ever come across it. 6,100 on Battle Golf for Yui, which is actually not bad on that. That's a fairly uncommon game, and a quirky one as well, a golf RPG, so that's pretty cool. Puyo Puyo 2, continuing the trend of Puyo Puyo games being inexpensive, as well as Phantasy Star 2, 2,300 yen. So again, that's like a $17 game, considering it's in pretty damn good shape, as most of these are. Mega Drive cases are pretty damn sturdy. 4,500 for this, what is this, Monster Lair? Good stuff, one of the Wonder Boy games, can't get enough of those, but that'll just about do her. Next up, we get started with the absolute beast that we like to call the Sega Saturn, and oh boy, they had an abundance of Saturn games. Let's get started with something a little quirky, a Mahjong game that was published by Capcom. I myself don't even know the rules of Mahjong, but it's 800 yen. And there you go, something that maybe you didn't know Capcom had published. We got some Ultraman here for 4,800. One of those kind of like digitized character fighting game / FMV Ultraman games. Ultraman was not treated very kindly when it came to video games. 7,000 though for this cool Cyberbots special edition, which if you want to play a really good giant robot fighter, Cyberbots is where it's at. And that special edition has some cool inclusions too, like an art book. And here for 5,000 yen, we've got the game Tengoku Game Paradise Special Edition, which comes with a VHS cassette tape. Not quite as useful, I guess, as that art book would be. Here we go, Willy Wombat, another cool Japan exclusive by Hudson Soft. 5,700, and I believe this was Jimmy Hoppa's first review over on Import Game of the Day. Certainly a very interesting and cool game. 3,900 on the original Initial D. Who didn't have their little Initial D custom cards for the arcade back in the day? Aladdin's Castle, baby. Vampire Hunter for 2,200, and it's the jewel case version, so no RAM card, but that's very cool. 2,200, not a bad deal on that game, actually. And 700 on the original Vampire Hunter. That's a hell of a deal. That's like a $4 game now. Very nice. Of course, they have the collection as well, the Capcom Fighting Collection. X-Men, Children of the Atom, with no cover for 4,000 yen. 6,300 for X-Men versus Street Fighter, one of my all-time favorite 2D fighters. And here we have a copy of X-Men, Children of the Atom, with a cover, actually, for 5,100. So if there's no cover on the game, they'll shave 1,100 off for you. That's nice of them. Guardian Heroes, 6,000 yen. So that's about, I don't know, maybe like a $45 game right now. Which is still nothing compared to its North American counterpart, but it is going up in price these days. 2,100, and it's Samurai Spirits, the RPG, which is pretty cool. So that's about a $15 game. Not so bad. And then Saturn Bomberman, 3,300. And that's a damn good one. That's the game you can play with, actually, I think, up to 8 players, multiplayer, or something like that. Something crazy. And 3,200 for Saturn Snatcher. Which today I myself might just be a Saturn Snatcher. But that's a pretty cool port of the game. Snatcher showed up on a lot. 1,200 though for KOF 97. So that's like $8, $7. That's not bad. 4,100 for Shinobi Din, which I think is called Shinobi X on the North American Saturn. Not 100% sure. And Sonic Jam 4,300. Kind of superfluous now. There are Sonic collections on other, modern consoles. We don't really need Sonic Jam anymore, but it's cool. And Samurai Spirits, I think the 4th game. Correct me if I'm wrong. They should have just numbered them. 1,900, though, for KOF 95 with the back. Wow, that's really sun-faded. But 1,900, that's like, I don't know, what, $12? So, yeah, not bad at all, even if it is sun-faded as hell. 2,200 on this Street Fighter collection, which is a cool way to play Super Turbo, in case you didn't know. 3,300 on Super Puzzle Fighter 2X. Of course, again, these now available as part of the Capcom Fighting Collection. So cool collector's items on the Saturn, but there are cheaper ways to play all of them. 6,400 on Sonic Wings Special. Great game. Sort of the precursor to Strikers 1945. And 4,800 on Sonic R. Not a good game at all, gameplay-wise anyway, but man, that soundtrack is a banger, as they say. And then 1,500 on the original Street Fighter Zero, so that's like $10. $10 for Street Fighter Zero, not bad. We've also got Dragon Ball Z, Idainaru Dragon Ball Densetsu, DBZ Legends, one of the first import games I ever bought as a teen. And again, that's another one that's like $11, $10, still very inexpensive, way cheaper than when I first bought it anyway. 1,200 on Dead or Alive with Spine Card, and that's a classic, one of the great early 3D fighters. And then 5,400 for, I think, it's one of the like Butoden games. It's like Super Butoden, but with Ultimate Battle 22's graphics, so it's at least a little better. 2,200 on Detona Twinbee Deluxe Pack, Yahoo, etc., etc. So like $16, and you've got 2 great Twinbee games in one package. Very cool. And then for 1,400, we get Dead or Alive with this, nifty sleeve. Can't go wrong there. 2,500 on Macross Do You Remember Love? Just still a very inexpensive game. And then this blew me away. 700 for Tokimeki Memorial Puzzle Dama. Which this is not the most common Saturn game. It's a really fun puzzler by Konami. And 700 yen, that's like $5, maybe less than $5. 7,400 though on the Warriors of Fate. Great game, but again, that's the entire day's budget on a single game, so probably not gonna pick it up. 800 though on Nights into Dreams. That's nice. Nights into Dreams, a great game, and it's still really affordable. 800 yen. That's like $5. Can't go wrong. 4,500 on Police Knots, and it is complete with the cool like plastic sleeve thing. And Police Knots, good game. I'd still, prefer Snatcher, but Police Knots, not bad. 1,300 on Puzzle Bobble 3. That's another good one. Again, you notice the trend. Puzzle games, usually pretty inexpensive. 1,900 on Baku Baku Animal. Again, another really fun puzzle game. I think it was a Japan exclusive. And that's like a $14 game at the moment. 14 or 13. Fighters History Dynamite. 6,500. Great game. Really good, even if Capcom did sue Data East over it. But it's a good game. Totally worth it. 2,300 for Magic Knight Ray Earth. Way more affordable than its North American counterpart. It's just all in Japanese. But that is a really good game, actually. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The original Layers section, 3,400. Though now we have all of the games in this series in the Ray's Arcade Collection. So again, not the most needed game. 600 on Puyo Puyo Sun. My favorite Puyo Puyo. And again, one that's just super inexpensive. It's like $4, $3. And last but not least, Real Bout Fatal Fury. And that's a lot of Saturn games. Good stuff indeed.
Your knight in shining armor is here.
I am Alexia.
I came.
どこまで行くというのか。バイオハザード。次世代バイオハザード。コードベロニカ。締め切り間近。
Alright, last but certainly not least, a crowd favorite, the Sega Dreamcast. Some choo-choo rocket action for 8800, but it has a sweet controller with it. And 1100 for this special edition of Comic Party. That's pretty cheap, but then again, that's not a very good game. We got this very cool Sonic Adventure 2, some kind of Sonic 10th anniversary, 7700, and some Sakura Wars Online to get your Mahjong action on. But we've already covered this. I don't even know the rules of Mahjong, so I'm just out of luck, as they say. 6600 for Vampire Chronicle for matching service, what I think is the best Darkstalkers game ever made. Pretty damn cool. MVC2 3470. We're on a Capcom kick right now. 1500 Capcom vs SNK. 2500 for Double Impact, which is awesome. 3700 Capcom vs SNK 2. Millennium Fight 2001. Whatever. Capcom vs SNK Pro. All great stuff. And then something, one of them mini Dreamcast dating sims. Gigawing 2, though, not a dating sim, nor is the original Gigawing at 6100. And I do prefer the first Gigawing over the second one, I don't mind telling you. 1100 for Guilty Gear X. That's still a very inexpensive game. About $7 for it. Grandia 2, speaking of, 800 yen. So if you can read some Japanese, you're good to go. 600 yen on Shenmue. They're practically giving it away. And it comes with the Shenmue Jukebox. That just floors me right there. Dino Crisis, absolute classic, 2800. And basically any of these Capcom survival horror games, I love the Dreamcast versions. Dino Crisis, Biohazard 3, Biohazard 2, all amazing. And one of my all-time favorite arcade games, 2,000 yen for Crazy Taxi. And that's hard on the throat, so I can't do that too much. But that's a great deal on a copy of Crazy Taxi. I love that game, don't mind telling you. And 1,000 for Code Veronica. Again, that's like less than $7. That's like $6.50 right now. These Dreamcast games, they're giving them away. Never mind. 6,200 on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But you know, that's an amazing game and one of Capcom's less common fighters, so it's okay. 900 yen on Space Channel 5. Another one of those Dreamcast classics. One of those games that really, you know, set the Dreamcast apart upon its release. You saw stuff like that in Jet Grind Radio. You knew it was something special. 3,600 for Third Strike, so that's probably about $27. Not too bad. And 03 Saikyo Ryu Dojo. I think this is for matching service, maybe or maybe not. 3,100 though. Not so bad on that. And 500 yen for Soul Calibur. That can't be any more than like $3. So that's an absolute steal. I think they would stop me at the door if I even walked out after paying. 1,900 for Power Stone. Not bad, although I did not see Power Stone 2. And Moiro Justice Gakuen, aka Project Justice, 6,400. So it's a little under $50 right now. Actually, it's probably closer to 40. And that's I love that whole series. 2,200 for Marvel vs. Capcom. It's a little ratty looking, but that's not bad on it. And 2,900 for Jet Set Radio, which is also good, although there is also De La Jet Set Radio, which is a much more expensive game. And the always adorable Mr. Driller for 1,200. And that's a hell of a deal on what is a great, great game. But let's see how we did today. First up, we got this copy of Dr. Mario, 600 yen. And that's looking pretty. 1,500 on this Super Bomberman 2. Very nice condition on that. 1,400 for East 3. on the PC Engine CD. Excellent, excellent deal. 800 on this beautiful looking Nights into Dreams. Still an absolute classic, still very affordable. 700 on Vampire Hunter. Also a classic, also extremely cheap these days. Get it while it's hot. Also 700 on Tokimeki Memorial Puzzle Dama. And that is a huge, that's a great deal. Massive, huge. 1200 on Mr. Driller. Can't go wrong with that. That's a great game, and that's a great price on it. Altogether, we spent $65.05. So we came in under budget. That is awesome. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I did making it. And that's just the appetizer. So coming up next, we'll have that big, huge, engorged hard off. So look forward to that. But until then, thanks for watching everybody. Goodbye.